Welcome back to our channel, where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. We are excited to share the following news. Palace confirms Prince Harry's new DNA discovery shocked Meghan and the royal family. An insider said that the palace has agreed to a DNA study, which has never happened before. This has caused a crisis in the monarchy about Prince Harry's heritage. Buckingham Palace has made an unusual announcement about looking into a private DNA situation involving Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. This has caused a lot of trouble in the UK and internationally. The short 17-word statement that came out late Tuesday ended weeks of speculation and caused a constitutional crisis for the House of Windsor, putting the story of the modern royal family in danger. Royal experts and constitutional scholars have called the statement a terrible admission, since it didn't provide any specifics about the results. It acknowledges the existence of a genetic investigation so significant that the institution could no longer maintain its traditional confidentiality. The news has confirmed long-held, largely ignored speculations about who the prince's father is, and it has put the monarchy in its worst identity problem since the abdication in 1936. People who work for the royal household and don't want to be named because the matter is so sensitive say that the institution is in chaos. It is said that King Charles Roman III is dealing with the emotional and political fallout, while the Prince of Wales is focusing on a strategy to keep the crown stable. Prince Harry has been separated from his family for years, but he has been dignified and silent, saved for a personal statement that his fans welcomed as a declaration of independence from the ideal of lineage. As the world's media gathers in London and the public thinks about what it means, the main question goes beyond tabloid gossip and has to do with historical records. The whispering that has followed the red-haired prince for 40 years has turned into a loud noise. And the British monarchy is now at a crossroads, having to face a reality that could change its future in a big way and threaten the legitimacy it has held for over 1,000 years. A journalist's problem in a document that was made public caused a crisis. The problem with the monarchy didn't start with a big event. It began with a plain brown parcel being delivered quietly. Daniel Fraser, a well-known investigative journalist for a respectable London broadsheet, received the paper. He is known for his strict sourcing and dislike of making up stories about the royal family. The envelope didn't have a return address, but the flap had a faint impression of a royal wax seal that showed how important it was. Fraser found a stack of photocopied documents within. The papers were hard to understand since they were full of medical terms and lab reference numbers. However, at the top of the first page in big red letters were the words private and confidential. Beneath a royal symbol, a short handwritten letter was attached to the file that said, "This changes everything. Please confirm the results." Fraser, a writer with a lot of experience with anonymous leads, knew that this case was different. The documents looked like an unfinished report from a genetic testing lab with sample numbers assigned to senior members of the royal family. The documents showed that the test was done more than 10 years ago, well before Prince Harry stepped down from his official duties. The effects were huge, which suggests that a DNA test had been secretly ordered inside the royal family. Fraser and his editors spent hours thinking about the moral and journalistic consequences. Spreading false claims might hurt the publication's reputation and lead to full legal action from the palace. But ignoring a breach of this scale seems like a failure to take responsibility. The decision was made to check via back channels. Fraser started to send discreet messages to his well-known connections, such as former royal advisors, retired government officials, and those who worked in medicine. The first emotions were marked by a deep silence of anxiety. As Fraser carefully compared the codes and dates on the document to known royal medical events, a tale began to take shape. It seems like the test was done as part of a regular health check for genetic abnormalities. Within 48 hours, a trustworthy source in the Royal Medical Corps, speaking under the promise of total privacy, confirmed the shocking news. A confirmation of descent test had been ordered and carried out. The source wouldn't say anything about the results, but they did confirm that the file was legitimate. A low-quality digital copy of the cover page of the paper showed up on an obscure online forum submitted by someone who is not known. The digital fire started. Tabloid newsrooms produced made-up headlines for a big topic they knew about. An early online edition said, "Royal DNA Mystery." Another added, "Palace involved in Harry test scandal." The stories spread throughout the globe thanks to social media algorithms that use anger and interest to get others to share them. The leak caused what one aide later called managed anarchy within Buckingham Palace. The press office, caught off guard, quickly produced a short one-line denial. The palace does not comment on conjecture, but this standard response only made things worse. The fact that the document was there, even if it was only partially shown, made silence a sign of guilt. The monarchy's internal systems that were supposed to control public opinion weren't working well. A whisper came from the palace walls, and in the digital age, it grew into a global outcry before the institution had a chance to come up with a solution. Rumors over decades, the history of a modern-day crisis. To grasp the gravity of the current situation, one must contemplate decades of public fascination and personal anguish. The question of Prince Harry's origins is not new. It has been a problem for the monarchy since he was born in 1984. His bright red hair, which was quite different from his father's and brother's darker hair, made him stand out and was a source of public speculation. This guess was forever linked to the tragic and stormy marriage of his parents, who were then the Prince and Princess of Wales. As Princess Diana's seemingly perfect marriage fell apart, her affair with Major James H. Witt, a cavalry officer with the same auburn hair, got a lot of media attention. Even though H. Witt kept saying that his relationship with Diana started after Prince Harry was born, the tabloids couldn't ignore how much they looked alike, even if it was just skin deep. In the 1990s, Harry was shown as the outsider prince. Side-by-side picture comparisons with Hewitt become a common and harsh part of sensationalist magazines. Royal biographers and historians note that even if the palace didn't say anything about the stories, they kept going, which changed how people thought about the young prince. People saw him as the human royal, since he had his mother's rebellious spirit and emotional openness, which was quite different from the more reserved Windsor stereotype. Dr. Alastair Finch, a constitutional historian from King's College London, says in A Monarchy Perception, defines legitimacy. The institution is based on a line of hereditary succession that never ends. The 1701 Act of Settlement, which controls the line of succession, is based on family ties. Doubting the paternity of a senior royal, particularly one who was born high up in the line of succession, is not merely a personal scandal, but also an attack on the constitutional integrity of Crown. The monarchy has known for thousands of years that its power does not come just from laws, but also from the confidence of the people. This notion is based on the belief that a sacred unbroken lineage connects the current king to 1,000 years of history. Any event that shows this lineage to be fake or wrong puts that mystique's integrity at risk. Camilla Tominey, an experienced royal editor, said that the palace's goal has always been to never complain, never explain. They think that talking about such rumors just gives them more fuel. They expect the storm to pass. This situation is different. The palace's declaration of a review and the publication of the documents have turned this from a rumor into an actuality. They can't ignore it anymore. The story has a lot to do with Princess Diana's enduring significance. Her 1995 Panorama interview, in which she spoke of betrayal, loneliness, and her life within the royal system, is still an important moment. She set herself apart from others by naming her boys as heirs to both her emotional legacy and the throne. For some people, Prince Harry is a real-life example of what Diana went through. For them, the questions about his paternity are a continuation of the pain she went through. This historical context is crucial. The continuing issue goes beyond just one DNA test. It includes the junction of public sorrow, media obsession, constitutional law, and the very personal story of a child who grew up with an unvoiced question. Operation Ancestry, The palace is under lockdown. When the stolen document showed up online, Buckingham Palace started a crisis plan that junior staff members unofficially called Operation Ancestry. There were 3 goals: to find out where the leak came from to manage the narrative, and to come up with a strategy to protect the Queen and the line of succession. An informant said that the tone within the palace gates was more gloomy than at any moment since Diana's death. The King's private secretary, who is renowned for being calm, called an urgent meeting of the highest-ranking royal advisors, lawyers, and communications experts. Finding out the truth was the most important thing. Was the document real? Did they do a test? Who gave the command, and what happened as a result? A small, carefully chosen group of internal investigators, led by a former MI5 officer who now works for the royal family, was given the job of doing a quick and private review. They were given access to the royal archives and private medical information that no one else had. Their work was a race against time because every hour that the administration stayed silent, the media story became worse and worse. Their worst fears came true within 24 hours. The detectives found a thin sealed folder among the confidential papers that had been wrongly labeled with a strange medical term. The paper spoke about a genetic verification test that had been done 10 years before. The paper confirmed that biological samples were taken from King Charles, who used to be Prince of Wales, Prince William, and Prince Harry. The declared purpose, couched in intricate legal jargon, was not for health evaluation, but for verification of ancestry. The discovery of this hidden file caused the inner group to feel anxious again. A small group of senior courtiers made the exam mandatory, perhaps to make sure there was a clear record in case there were any future legal or public disagreements over the line of succession. It was a prophylactic measure born out of paranoia that had now led to harm to oneself. The results of the exam were contained in a second, more secret document that only the king and his or her private secretary could see. Once they were sure the test existed, the palace went from denying it to trying to limit the harm. The king and the Prince of Wales had a passionate, emotional fight at Clarence House. People who know King Charles said he was deeply saddened in both his roles as a father and as a king. Prince William was said to be more pragmatic, focusing on the institutional problem and pushing for a clear plan to keep the crown stable. The advisors spoke about things in a really intensive way. The traditionalists wanted the silence to continue, saying that any official announcement would be a mistake in history. The modernizers said that this concept wouldn't function in the 21st century. They suggested that people would view silence as proof of the worst possible consequence. They stated that recognizing the review will give the palace back some control over the story. In the end, the king sided with the people who wanted to modernize. A statement was made that was meant to be unclear. It confirmed that a review had taken place, but didn't say what the outcomes were. It was a high-risk bet that seemed clear, but didn't really provide any information. The idea was that it would satisfy the media's immediate desire for an official statement and give the palace time to come up with its next plan. When the 17-word statement was released to the press, everyone there knew they were crossing a line. The monarchy officially accepted an investigation into its ancestry, and there would be no going back. The confrontation: a prince comes back and a father suffers. Prince Harry made a covert journey to London as things became worse. He booked the flight under a fake name and was taken from a private airport to a secret entrance at Clarence House in an unmarked car. People didn't realize that he came back not to heal his family but to fight. He looked for answers. A discussion took place in a private study apart from the formal state houses, and it was decorated with personal photos and books. There was so much tension in the air that even the most gracious royal behavior couldn't make it go away. King Charles sat at one end of a large mahogany desk. He seemed like a calm, regal person, but he was really quite tired. Prince Harry stood across from him, his posture firm and his face showing how serious the issue was. A handful of the king's top advisors, including his private secretary, remained still against the walls, watching a moment in history that was very important. The first chat was strange since the king asked Harry about his family and travels. but the prince didn't cross the Atlantic just to be polite. Harry continued, "I've looked over the reports." His voice was calm, but firm, cutting through the formality. "I need to know for sure that they are real. Was there a test given?" The king stopped and looked down at the papers on his desk. "This is sensationalist garbage meant to hurt this family," he replied, sounding calm but distant. "We don't talk about things like that." "This isn't an issue of belief," Harry responded, his anger showing. "This has to deal with a specific paper. A DNA test that was done years ago, a hidden file. I want the truth from you as my dad." It was clear that the shift from the institutional to the personal was happening. The aides looked like they were in pain. This went beyond politics. It turned into a painful real-life fight between a father and his son. The king continued, "If such records exist, they are about private medical problems." His tone became more firm. "Then show them to me," Harry said, his voice becoming louder with anger. "If there's nothing to hide, if this is all made up, then prove it. Please show me the findings." The room was really quiet. King Charles held on to the edge of the desk with both hands. At that point, he was having a hard time balancing his two main jobs, being a dad and being the king. As a dad, he faced a son in pursuit of a truth that may potentially undermine his identity. As king, he was in charge of an institution that depended on keeping that truth a secret. Finally, the king murmured, "You are my son." His voice was just above a whisper, and it was a mix of power and pleading. That is the one important fact. When Harry's answer came, it was quiet and terrible. "It was once," he replied, looking straight ahead. "But that's not enough anymore, not when the world has been allowed to look at it my entire life." The fight came to a standstill. Harry knew he wouldn't receive the clear answer he wanted. He wanted to find peace inside himself, but the institutions fought against him. Before he left, he didn't beg. He made a statement of intent. "I will say what I want to say," he replied calmly. "Only for internal use, for my own good. This is something I have to do for my family." When Prince Harry left, the big oak door closed behind him. The silence that followed was deeper than the argument that had just happened. The gap between the person looking for personal truth and the institution maintaining community silence had become too big to cross. The Duke's defiance, a new legacy. Prince Harry made a statement of his own not long after the palace's mysterious announcement, and speculations began to spread about his tense meeting with the king. It wasn't sent out via normal royal channels. Instead, it was put up right away on the Archewell Foundation website for him and Meghan. The language was personal, clear, and not as formal as official messages, which often use vague language. It was a statement that echoed throughout the world. The statement began, "Throughout my life, I have lived within the story that others have made. I have been given parts in stories, some of which are sweet and others of which are bitter. I know the present rise of speculation well. It has been the constant background noise of my life since I was a child. However, truth has an intrinsic propensity to come into the light. Buckingham Palace has decided to deal with this matter via institutional tradition, but I wish to deal with it as a husband and father. My reality remains the same no matter what happens on any test or in any paper. I am and will always be my mother's kid. I am her heart, her compassion, and her fight against a system that frequently puts tradition before individuals. My worth is not based on my family or my status. My actions, my accomplishments, and the family I have built define me. My wife and I have chosen a path of purpose and independence. We will keep building a legacy that isn't based on family ties, but on the courage to live an honest life and the desire to help others. I put love ahead of fear and wish to live by the ideals my mother taught me." The proclamation was a public relations win, since it changed the conversation from paternity and legality to personal identity and freedom. It didn't confirm or deny the DNA theory, saying it didn't matter to how he saw himself. He linked himself to Princess Diana by talking about her as a royal outsider and humanitarian, which makes people feel a lot of sympathy for him. The impact was immediate and caused a split. Supporters praised it as a strong and dignified response, a last act of freedom from an institution that had caused him a lot of pain. Hashtags like "Back Me, My Princes, Harry and Diana's Son" have been popular all throughout Globe, some people said it was a childish move and a direct attack on the king and the monarchy. They said he was exploiting memories of his mother to distract people from the question of his legitimacy. This comment is Harry's clear declaration of independence, said a well-known brand and reputation expert. He is basically saying that the monarchy's most important asset, the lineage, means nothing to him. He is coming up with his own idea of what it means to be a king based on actions and character rather than family ties. It directly goes against the basic idea of institution he was born into. Harry took control of his story by refusing to talk about genetics. He didn't act like a prince with a problematic background. Instead, he acted like someone who didn't require that kind of proof. The fight was no longer about his father's family. It was about who he had chosen to be, decline and prospects, a monarchy at a key moment. The British monarchy is currently in uncharted territory after the palace's revelation and Prince Harry's strong response. The effects have been quick and strong, causing big changes in how people feel and putting Crown's long-term stability in danger. A quick YouGov poll done within 48 hours after the news showed that society was very split. Most people over 65 said they still supported the institution and thought the matter should be private. However, a large majority of those under 30 said they wanted full transparency. The problem has revealed a generational gap, juxtaposing historical veneration with a modern need for accountability. The constitutional effects are complicated. Prince Harry is no longer an active royal and is low in the line of succession, but the official acknowledgement of an investigation into his origins raises troubling questions. Dr. Alistair Finch says, hypothetically, if the test showed that he is not the king's biological son, it would not have an immediate effect on the current line of succession, as Prince William and his children come before him. It would, however, suggest retroactively that a person not of royal ancestry held the third place in the line of succession for decades. This creates an unerasable stain on history and the Constitution. It goes against the main idea of the case. The government has had to walk a tightrope politically. The Prime Minister issued a message saying that he fully supports His Majesty the King and asked that the family be given privacy. This was clearly an attempt to strengthen the monarchy. However, anti-monarchist groups have taken advantage of the situation. The group Republic, for example, announced a record rise in both membership and donations. People are asking for a parliamentary probe into the matter because they think the public should know whether the line of succession has been put in danger. The issue has hurt the monarchy's prestige across the globe. The story has spread across news cycles from New York to New Delhi, where it is generally called the best episode of The Crown. The carefully planned image of stability and continuity has been replaced with a tale of scandal, secrecy, and dysfunction. The royal family now has to make a very difficult choice. If the full results of the DNA test were made public, it would provide a clear answer, but it may also confirm a terrible truth which could lead to an irreversible constitutional catastrophe. By not saying anything, they allow rumors to spread and make people even less trusting of the institution. It is clear that this is more than just a royal scandal when the dust settles. This is a very important moment for King Charles Roman III's reign and the future of the kingdom. The problem has forced an old mystical idea of a hereditary royalty to collide with the modern world's unending search for truth. Prince Harry has called for a new legacy that is based on character rather than family ties by saying that he is free from the limits of his ancestry. It is not yet clear how well the old institution he set up can adjust to this new situation. As dawn comes over a Britain that is stretched and broken, the House of Windsor is on the edge of collapse. Its future is unclear because it has been changed forever by the disclosure of a secret truth that it could no longer keep hidden. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and say goodbye for now.